Hello and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Judith, and I know I've done fried chicken on the channel before, but that was oven fried, and that was my mom's recipe. This is mine, and this is breaded chicken and fried on stovetop. Actually, I used to do it in an electric frying pan, which was perfect, but it was old and the element burnt out. So now I just have to use a stainless steel frying pan. So what we've got, various chicken parts. Well, you can cut up a chicken and get different parts, but it's just easier these days to buy some thighs, some legs, and a breast. And for the breading, I have all-purpose flour. Then we're going to do an egg wash, and since one egg isn't usually enough, but two are too much, I do have some egg white in a container. We'll use that. And breadcrumbs. We are going to season the flour with a little bit of salt and pepper. And to fry, it's going to be a mixture of oil, and I use avocado oil, but you can use any vegetable oil. Probably not olive oil is not good for this, just because it's a very strong flavor. And a lot of butter. This does take a while to cook. If it was boneless pieces, it would take a lot less, but I do like bone in. So it takes 45 minutes to an hour to cook, and because you are going to cook it on a low heat. So let's get started with the breading. Okay, while your pan is heating up, set up your breading station. So you want flour first, then egg wash, then breadcrumbs. When your pan is getting warm, add the oil. And you do want a good amount of oil, so we're looking at probably a tablespoon and a half, maybe 2 tablespoons. And then you want butter. But I wouldn't add the butter right away because you don't want it to get too brown. It will brown as you cook. So get your butter ready to go, but don't put it in quite yet. You need to get some of the chicken breaded. So let's get that out of the way. That can wait. Okay, breading the chicken. You want to do the thicker pieces first. And I have cut the breast in half. So we're going to do the breast. And if you don't want big clumps of stuff on your fingers, make sure you got a fork in the wet, because you don't want to mix flour and wet, or you're going to end up with big clumps of stuff on your fingers. There we go. And into the breadcrumbs. And same with the second piece. And into the breadcrumbs. Move it over. Now, the trick is to not let your fingers touch the wet bit. So scoop the breadcrumbs over, or use a fork or tongs. Turn, turn. Okay, once you get them well coated. Now you could do this ahead of time because it doesn't hurt it to sit for a bit and let the breading dry, like basically turn into a crust. So now we're going to add our butter. And skin side down. Next in will be the thighs. Now you can do the breading without an implement, but just make sure you use one hand for the wet and the other for the dry. Okay, and in go the thighs. And as you can see, the butter's starting to brown, but yes, that's a natural thing. It's going to happen. And this is not a case where we have to worry about crowding the pan, because we are frying with a lot of oil. So we do want to cover this pan once we get it browned on top. Well, actually on the bottom at this point. But then we're going to flip it over, turn the heat down, and put a lid on it. And there's no room in here for the legs, so we're going to have to start another pan. It only takes 5 to 7 minutes, depending on the temperature. And you can turn your chicken pieces. And let the other side get it cooked. And that won't take as long because we're going to put the lid on, turn the heat down, and turn it down a lot. Okay, check the doneness after a few minutes. And yeah, it's doing okay. It's not nearly as dark as the top, but that's fine. That's what we want. Because now it's time to turn the heat down really far and put a lid on. This is it. Since I have 2 pans going, I'm going to put the larger lid on this one. I do like to use glass lids because then I can see what's happening. And these have a vent hole, which is good. We don't want too much moisture collecting. We do want it to vent. And the legs, drumsticks I should say, will take a bit longer to get up to this level. But that's okay because they're smaller pieces. They shouldn't take quite as long to cook. If at any point during the cooking it starts to look dry, add some more oil or butter, your choice. I usually just do a little oil and move it around the pan. And it's still a little hot for what I want, but I've turned it down as much as I dare. It should slow down soon. And I know there's 2 pans going, so it's hard to differentiate, probably, but you want, when it's cooking, to just barely hear it sizzling. And this is still doing a really good sizzle. So I don't think I can turn it down much lower. The burner, the element should cool, and it should stop soon. My only other choice is to turn it off, let it cool, and then turn it back to low. Can you hear how quiet it is now? Most of that snapping and popping is condensation running off the lid onto the burner. You can barely hear the sizzle inside the pan. That's exactly what you want. You want this to cook slowly. You don't want to burn the breading, but you want the chicken to cook through. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's gotten very quiet. But it's still, you can still hear the frying and a little bit of a sizzle in there. It's just not really loud. So halfway into the cooking time, so about half an hour after you start this, depending on the size of your piece, you want to turn them over again. We're not going to add any more oil. We're just going to turn them, and it's still cooking very quietly. Put the lid back on and let them go very gently. And I think I'm just going to turn that up just one little notch, because we do want to keep hearing that cooking sound. We do want to hear a little bit of a sizzle, not really loud, just a very quiet little sizzle. So let's check the legs. Okay. They are doing quite well. Don't think they're ready to turn yet. They started a lot later than the breasts and thighs, so we'll give them a little more time. But I don't want to add any more oil to that because they're still doing just fine. Okay, for the pan of legs, when you want to turn it over, you probably just want to turn it onto the side, because you see the side is still unbrowned. Because you want to get those bits browned. So you may have to turn the legs a few times. There we go. And you may have to adjust the temperature several times, because especially with electric stoves, they get hot, they get cold, they get hot, they get cold, and it's not always the temperature you want. So I think, and with the chicken breast and thighs, you are going to want to do that as well. Turn up to get the thick edges browned. And they're pretty much done, but at this point we're going to leave the lid off and we're going to let the edges brown. This is my version of fried chicken, and it is fried. It does take a little longer than my mom's version, which is oven fried. I was going to start with the potatoes, but no. Let's try this. Let's have a taste of the breast meat. And it's juicy. It's hard to make breast meat juicy. This is juicy. That is so good. This actually stores quite well. You put it in the fridge and you can take it on a picnic or whatever. Served cold, it's wonderful. It is such a a lovely way to make chicken. It is a bit hands-on. It does take some time, but most good food does. Have a vegetable. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos from me about basically traditional cooking and some untraditional. Hit the bell icon when you do subscribe, and you will be notified when I put up a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon.